Hi all. Let's begin. Urban local bodies and their functions is frequently asked topic in the planning and architectural exams. To understand this properly, we first need to link it with the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, this is basically the foundation for all the local self-governance in India. And yeah, when we talk about the 73rd Amendment Act, this basically deals with the rural local bodies, while the 74th Amendment Act focuses on the urban local body. Together, these amendments created the three tier of governance. This is a very important point to note. The basic aim of this 73rd and the 74th Amendment Act was to decentralize planning, administration, and service delivery. Initially, what used to happen was all the responsibility vested on the state government. So it burdened the state government, and hence it was very important to decentralize the power. Hence, 73rd and the 74th Amendment Act came into the picture. Okay. So, since this video is all about the urban local body, which means the urban areas, our focus would be on the 74th Amendment Act, which basically gave the status, constitutional status to the ULBs. And it also clearly defined their structure and functions. So, under the 74th Amendment Act, ULB were basically responsible for the planning, regulation, and delivery of basic urban services. This is why questions are often asked on the types of ULBs and their functions, either directly or in application-based MCQs. So now, based on population size and urban characteristics, population size and urban characteristics, the urban local body is classified into three main types. All right. So let's try to understand each type one by one, followed by the functions. So the first one is a municipal corporation. These are basically established in large cities with very high population. These bodies basically handle major urban services. This would include water supply, sewerage, solid waste management, urban transport, public health, town planning, all of this, okay? Second comes the municipal council. So the municipal council or the municipality, they are formed for medium sized towns, and they also perform pretty much the similar function as the municipal corporation, but on a smaller scale as compared to municipal corporation, okay, such as street lighting, drainage, local roads, etc. Okay? The third of the three-tier governance in the urban local body is the Nagar Panchayat. So these are created in transitional areas. See, this is an important term because questions have been asked to which Nagar Panchayat are related to what, which areas. So transitional areas. Now, what do we mean by transitional areas? We are talking about the urban area, right? So in this context, the rural areas which are transitioning to an urban area is where Nagar Panchayat is there. Okay, they are basically role is to manage early stage urban services and regulations. Okay, so you get it right, the hierarchy. If we talk about small to big in context of size and population, first would be the Nagar Panchayat, then municipal council or municipality, and then municipal corporation. Fine. So the functions that we have written, it's like a holistic ones: urban services, water supply, town planning, street light, all of this. But their functions are all in all divided into two categories. Okay. So before we start with the functions, when we are talking about the 74th Amendment Act, we also know that 12th schedule was added. Right? And it had around 18 subjects to it. So these subjects, again, these functions are divided in two parts. One is obligatory or mandatory. These are the functions which has to be there. You cannot compromise on these functions. These basically form the core, okay, like the services, the health, all of that. And then comes the discretionary or the optional ones. Okay, so in one sentence, if I have to say what an obligatory is, it would link to survival. The functions which is required to, make a city survive, to not let it collapse, are linked to obligatory functions. And discretionary functions would be the one which would be related to progress. For example, slum housing. They basically improve the city's social fabric. It's not mandatory because without it the city won't collapse, but it would be good to have. Okay? Like good to have, but not mandatory. So let's see a few examples. Obligatory or mandatory functions. So this would include water supply, sanitation, roads, bridges, street light, they also have to register the number of births and deaths. Okay, so I would name it as vital statistics. Births, deaths. Okay, so these are a few examples of obligatory or mandatory functions. For discretionary, or optional, we have urban planning, urban forestry. See, keep a note on the types of functions for both, because in exam what happens is they give a particular function and they say that choose what kind of function it is, whether it's an obligatory function or an optional function. So we need to know what are the examples on each head. Okay. Urban forestry, then slum improvement, upgradation, then urban poverty alleviation. So you see, all of these are optional. अगर ये नहीं भी हुआ तब भी a city would work. ठीक है? If we consider these, if there is no water supply in a city, will it work? It won't. It has to be there. Sanitation, same thing. Bridges, same thing. Lighting, if there's no light, there would be a lot of crime. It won't be safe. So again, it's very mandatory. So all of these, even this data has to be there. Who else would, take a note of this? So next, let's do one thing. Let's see a few questions to understand the difference both. So the first question was asked in Andhra Pradesh town planning exam in 2010. The obligatory function, obligatory as in mandatory, right? Of an urban local body in Andhra Pradesh is what? Let's look into the options. Higher education, environmental improvement, water supply, regulating trade. So we already wrote here, right? Water supply is an obligatory function. So we can mark it right, but let's also look into the other options कि वो क्यों correct नहीं है. अगर वो correct नहीं है तो who else is going to look into it? What are the functions that's going to include these options? Okay, so the first one, higher education. Higher education is not a mandatory function by the urban local body because it's often looked after by the central or the state government. State or central government. It's a discretionary function. Generally what happens is the municipalities, they run primary schools. Primary school is an obligatory function, okay? But higher education is looked after by the state or the central government. It's not the responsibility of the urban local body, hence it's a discretionary function. Okay, so this is not the correct answer. Then comes environmental improvement. So see again, what did I say earlier, that obligatory matlab kya ki it is very important for the city to run. अगर environmental improvement, beautification नहीं करो तब भी city would work. It's not necessary, right? So ये भी discretionary function में आ जाता है. But अगर ये public health related होता, if it would have been public health, तो वो obligatory function हो जाता. Because if you're not looking after the public's health, how would the people live, right? So this is again a discretionary function. Water supply, we know it's an obligatory function because clean water dena, it's a fundamental duty. And in case if an urban local body fails here, it would lead to an epidemic. Okay. Then let's look at the fourth option, regulating trade. So regulating trade is a type of, I'll mark it down here. It's a regulatory function. Regulatory function. Okay. They are basically rules and enforcement mechanism. They're used to control behavior and ensure public safety or order. Okay. So hence regulating trade is not an obligatory function, but it comes under regulating function. Okay. Now let's just look at the second question. It might be clear then. So the second question was asked in Gujarat's town planning exam as well as in Rajasthan's town planning exam. Okay. So for a municipal corporation, taking initiatives for slum clearance and redevelopment of an area is what type of function? So again, slum clearance is an optional function. करो तब भी ठीक, नहीं करो, it would be better if you do. Okay. अगर नहीं करो तब भी the city would work. It's not going to collapse. So the answer is discretionary, but let's see at the other options also. Obligatory we know mandatory चीजें होती है. Discretionary चलो ठीक है. Regulating function we just discussed. ठीक है. It also would include, like example, if you want to see चलो कि you want to permit issue building permits. ठीक है. Check codes if they are being applied. For example, if fire codes have been applied in the building, ठीक है, या फिर किसी area में. So all of these come under regulatory function. Now deregulatory function क्या होता है? This is a process of removing or simplifying regulations. ठीक है. Process of removing or simplifying regulations. Fine. So the major function is related to obligatory function and discretionary function. उसके अलावा हमारे पास कुछ नॉर्म्स होते हैं, कुछ लाइसेंसेस परमिट करने होते हैं, दैट कम्स अंडर रेगुलेटरी फंक्शंस. ठीक है. So yes, this was majorly about the types of urban local bodies and what are their functions. So you see the concept is very छोटा सा, it's very clear, but इसी पे questions have been asked earlier and we already saw कि किस type के questions होते हैं. Majorly ऐसे ही type के questions हैं. So yeah, we have also created mock test on our app, and if you guys want the link of it, do leave a comment below. This is how the interface is going to look like, and this is how your analysis would come, your rank, तुमने कितना time लगाया, तुम्हारा score क्या है, what are the growth areas, all of that. So in case if you need the link to the mock test, do let us know. Thank you.